Hello, my name is Gian Hernandez. I'm a PhD student in intercultural communication at the Faculty of Communication, Culture, and Society. And today I'm here to present my paper, Racial Unspeakability, Affect and Embodiment in Swiss International Higher Education Institutions, for which I am grateful to receive the 2021 Equal Opportunities Award. The paper itself was published in the Journal of International Students, which recently, according to Google Scholar, was ranked number 10 overall in higher education journals. Firstly, I would like to apologize for my absence from the ceremony. The reason for this is because I am currently attending a retreat on challenging inequalities regarding diversity in Switzerland. I was personally invited by a scholar whose work I cited in this very paper, so that's fairly exciting. The study itself uses data collected from semi-structured interviews, which I conducted in English, German, and Italian with international and domestic students, as well as administrators. I identified narratives of race, ethnicity, and nationality that delimit a modern colonial global imaginary. An imaginary is a set of commonly shared understandings which renders multiple, often competing social relationships into a meaningful, coherent whole. This means that there are specific ways of discussing and engaging with difference that are facilitated by this modern colonial global imaginary. So, the paper was concerned with race specifically, which I define, relying on David Theo Goldberg, as identifying people by their real or imagined phenotypes and the meanings associated with those visible differences. The reason for this is that there is a lack of research on race and ethnicity in international higher education, which as a field is premised on the very nature of internationality. So people are moving across borders, and difference is a marked value within international higher education. And I think it is very important to be able to theoretically and critically engage with notions of difference, specifically when they're imbricated in concepts of nationality. The analysis for this paper was intersectional, meaning that it was concerned with various kinds of difference. However, I noticed throughout the research that students and administrators had a greater facility of discussing other forms of difference. So for example, gender, disability, religion emerged in the data, yet there was a tension or a problem or an issue with discussing concepts of race or discussing visible differences of race. So the term that I came up with was racial unspeakability. Racial unspeakability advances notions of race muteness or race blindness, which has emerged in the literature, but it also circumvents this sort of problematic ableist notions of these concepts and also refines the analytical clarity for discussing the phenomenon at hand. So for example, in interviews, it's not that students or administrators are incapable of seeing race or that they're incapable of talking about race, but rather it's that the concept itself is rendered unspeakable, meaning that the imaginary, the global, modern colonial global imaginary, does not allow for nuanced discourses of race to emerge. This has implications for communication studies as well as for international higher education. I used education as a context, meaning that the practical implications for practitioners and scholars in international higher education mean that they can facilitate discourses and dialogues of race. And for communication, it means that we can mark imaginaries that facilitate discourses. So I think in combining these two in an interdisciplinary way, I was able to contribute to both fields. So, in conclusion, for me, it is very important that race remain a speakable concept. It can't be that we do not discuss race. Race must remain speakable.